you need to wake up at 3 a.m. or brag that I wake up at 4 a.m. and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Good luck, bro. You're going to have to biohack the hell out of yourself to be able to survive throughout the day. And your health is going to significantly be impacted because you haven't slept. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Jacque Show. Today, we're going to be talking about a crucial topic. It is a free topic, and it's one that I feel is massively disregarded. Nobody really talks about it all that much. We complain about it, we know about it, but we don't know the detrimental impact that you can experience through something as simple as sleep deprivation. And so we're going to go into this, and I'm going to start with a funny story that I remember. For anybody who went to college with me into Penn State or has been to Penn State, they do something called Thon. And Thon is to raise money for, I believe it's kids with cancer, because their whole slogan was FTK for the kids. And basically, you have people place wagers on how long, and Penn Staters, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I never did it myself, but you basically have to stay up and dance nonstop for like as long as you can. And the thing goes like all weekend, I believe. So it's like 3 days or so. And I remember that we'd have friends and stuff who would be doing this, and they would come out to the bars with us. Yes, everybody, I used to drink. They would come out to the bars with us, and you look at them and they'd be like, oh my gosh, like I already feel like I'm drunk. Like this is really good. Like let's party, let's have fun. But you would look at them and they were like dead behind the eyes. And you're like, well, are you good? Like, have you slept at all? And no, we can't sleep. We just get up, we dance, we have to keep going. And there was a statistic that they had brought up, and it was basically, I think it was after 3 days or 2 days of sleep deprivation, your body's proprioception, your body's skills is like that of which you going over the minimum limit, I guess maximum limit of alcohol consumption. Whatever it is, 0.08 or whatever that statistic is. But the point of me bringing this up is, this is something that I knew about many, many, many years ago. And now I'm incredibly nerdy with my Oura rings, with my Whoop. I'm looking at my heart rate variability. I track my REM sleep, how deep I go. And I get obsessed over this. And it's that was a big reason for it. Another reason why I am obsessed with the sleep side of things is because I am a parent. I'm a father, and I am a husband, and my wife went through sleep deprivation. Many women do. They go through sleep deprivation when they have children. And then after they go through the breastfeeding phase or the nursing phase, kids will grow up, and parents still have that, or moms still have that superficial sleep cycle. And, our kids are 4 and 2. And it's been 2 years or so with Sage being, breastfed. It's been about a year since. We still have the monitor in the room. We still have it on every once in a while with the sound on. And we can hear basically every nook and cranny of this house, even though we live in a pretty decent sized home. We're very blessed for where we're at. But the point I'm bringing up is the superficial sleep. Okay? And now what happens is parents, women in particular, they'll go through this nursing phase and they'll go through this sleep deprivation. And what's happening is there's a record rate of postpartum depression, more so than I've seen in many of the previous years. And so I get curious, if my woman, right, if my wife suffers from anything, she knows this. I'm obsessive. I want to find out why. I want to find out the reason, whether she even wants to hear it or not. I'm going to figure this out, because if she's suffering with it, then you have to imagine that other women are suffering with this as well. And so I pulled up multiple studies and things that were done. I hit up PubMed, the NIH, the real research on NIH, not the skewed stuff. And we're talking about sleep, okay? So one of the big things with sleep is we categorize it into different phases of sleep. Okay, the normal sleep response, if you're like, well, I don't even know if I sleep well, I think I do. The goal is to be able to fall asleep within about 15, 20 minutes or so of your head hitting the pillow. Okay, it's not having racing thoughts. It's not kicking and screaming in bed, having restless legs. It's not suffering going to bedtime. That is, I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. Boom, you're out all night. You wake up in the morning, and then you're good to go. If there is any issues with that initial sleep phase, that head to the pillow to falling asleep, they call that a sleep latency, or sleep lag, where if you go half hour, a full hour, multiple hours, you go into the next day because you can't fall asleep, then you have trouble with that shutdown process. Okay, so for me, my functional brain goes, well, what is the stress of the day that you cannot get through that's causing you not to be able to sleep? Is it racing thoughts? Is it that you have a spouse next to you that snores? Is it that you have a spouse next to you that you want to wring their neck? What is it? Is it that you just got into a fight with your kids trying to put them down for sleep? Cortisol can take about 4 hours or so to leave the system. So you want to try to make your nightly routine as relaxing as possible and have as few of arguments as possible going into bed. Otherwise, your sleep will pay for it. The other thing that can cause issues with sleep latency is eating too close to bedtime, where you lay down, the food from the dinner or the snacks after dinner start to push up on your upper abdomen, pushes into your lungs, pushes into your heart, makes it difficult for you to lay down, or you have to sleep at an incline. When you're sleeping on an incline, you're continuing to put pressure on those adrenals, and your blood pressure is going to be higher at night because when you're horizontal, you don't have as much gravity controlling your blood pressure, right? If you're standing, it's the hardest way for our body to work to pump blood through our bodies. If you're somewhere in between, you're in between with the level of difficulty that you have with pumping the blood through the body, right? So that can go into, there's also issues with infections, different infections, coughs, colds, etc. Our body is going to fight those things as we go into sleep because our body can repair and recover while we're asleep. It's our subconscious mind taking care of us like it always does. These types of things can absolutely have an impact. And something that a lot of people don't know is that cortisol and melatonin, right? We all have heard of melatonin. We've all heard of cortisol. But melatonin is going to be inhibited by an increase in cortisol. Right? Cortisol keeps you awake. Melatonin puts you to sleep. If you're stressed out, if you do a workout, and this is another one, if you do a workout too close to bedtime, because that's the only time you can do it, your sleep quality is going to be terrible. You're going to wake up feeling horrible. Your hormones are going to be impacted. I'll show you how. But that's what can happen with being that way or doing that exercise that way prior to bed. Okay? Cortisol goes up, melatonin goes down. So a lot of people try to chase it with melatonin to try to bring up that melatonin a little bit. And they're like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't really know. When in reality, you need to figure out how to handle those stresses better, how to perceive those stresses better. There's another product you can take from Designs for Health. It's called PS 150. It's phosphatidylserine or phosserine, and it will suppress cortisol. So therefore, if you're suppressing cortisol, you're allowed to have more melatonin. Another way to recharge your melatonin for the next night is when you wake up in the morning, try to get sunlight directly into your eyes. If you're driving to work in the morning, try not to wear sunglasses. Don't stare directly into the sun. But if you have your morning cup of coffee, go outside, sip your coffee, watch the sunrise. Get a little bit of that to recharge your eyes. Do like 20, 30 minutes. If you can only do 5, then just do 5. But at least you're getting some of that sunlight in that's going to recharge your melatonin for that next night's sleep. Okay? That's one portion of this. Now, we go from that one portion, that sleep latency portion, okay? And then what's going to happen is we go from sleep latency to actually falling asleep. This is where our REM sleep comes into play, our non-REM sleep comes into play. This is like how deep do we go into sleep? Now, parents tend to have more superficial. So if you track it, your REM, the deepness of your sleep is going to be more superficial. You're not going to hit that deep restorative sleep. And I'm going to break it down into the scientific facts of what happens, and you'll understand why this is important. For the parent side of things, waking up or hearing noises in the house or not feeling safe in your home is going to continuously break your body down, okay? There's another thing that a lot of people just shake off where they're like, I just get up once, maybe twice in the middle of the night, and I go and use the restroom and I go back to sleep. That is a break in your sleep cycle. You're not staying deep in your sleep. You're superficial, and your subconscious mind woke you up and said, you need to go to the restroom, come back and fall asleep. Now, some people are blessed and are able to fall right back asleep. Some people are screwed and they go to fall asleep and they're like, oh my gosh, I forgot I didn't take out the trash last night. I have to make sure that I do that first thing in the morning. They come at 7 a.m. or who knows, maybe it'll be 5 a.m. today and I'm going to miss it. Then we're going to have it build up in trash. And then and it's just this perpetuating cycle. Another thing that can happen, the stress of the day damages your melatonin, but the stress also eats your magnesium. Okay, so people get restless legs. They'll have anxiousness. They'll have anxiety going into sleep because they had a really stressful day. So taking a magnesium supplementation, whether it's a magnesium citrate to potentially help you have bowel movements, or a chelated one, or glycinate, or any of those ones that are out there, magnesium is going to be a good precursor to help you fall asleep. Okay, it's one of those things that you need to make you rest and relax. If you're waking up multiple times in the night as a man, you may have a prostate issue. So this may be an infection of the stomach that's causing the prostate to be inflamed. Make sure that you get that addressed. It's not just something that is normal with age. It's common, but it is not normal. So don't think that it is. Don't make excuses for your suffering. That's actually a really good quote. Don't make excuses for your suffering. Don't edit that out. So that's a piece of this that can really get in the way of you having a great night's sleep. And then you wake up in the morning, right? And we'll talk about the sleep table, but when you wake up in the morning, you're supposed to wake up feeling rested. You may have a little bit of sluggishness, kind of knocking the rust off the first 5-10 minutes or so, but within 30 minutes of being awake, you're supposed to have an increase of at least 50% of cortisol release from when you woke, right? And so if you wake and you have normal cortisol and boom, you have the coffee effect, if you will, you're producing cortisol naturally, you're good to go and you go about your day and you have all the energy that you need, right? But what happens if you wake up and you don't feel rested and you feel like you're dragging ass in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm so tired. I can't move through. You know, you got the toddler effect. You're like, I'm so tired. And like, you want to take a nap. And like, no, you're that way, right? That's not a good night's sleep. So even if you thought that you went to bed on time, right? You went to bed at 10 o'clock or before 10 o'clock, you only fell asleep in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, you slept all night, but you still wake up in the morning and you feel crummy, you did not get a restorative night's sleep. So what could have gotten in the way, right? Is it one of those internal infections? Is it a parasite? Is it a bacterial infection? Is it a cold? Is it a virus? Is it a bacteria? Is it fungal overgrowth? What is it? Was it stress from the day? Again, is it because your mattress is terrible or you're sleeping too raised? Like there's a lot of things that can come into play with this. That is why sleep is so important. There's so many functional variables to improve upon. This is why I laugh too when people are like, oh, I do sleep studies and I do this and I do that. You're taking your body out of your common environment, right? It's like in vitro type. You're taking your body out of what you're used to. You're taking your body out of your bed, out of your routine, away from your spouse, away from any white noises, ambient light, any of those things, environmental factors, mold in the home, which could be another thing that keeps you awake. There's so many factors that you can't account for if you're going to a building and sleeping somewhere else, right? People are like, oh, I sleep great in a hotel bed. Why? Is it because the bed is great? Is it because you don't have your spouse with you? Is it because you didn't have a stressful day? Or are you on vacation? Is it because you don't have to worry about the kids? What is it? Right? And I'll be honest with you. I went to Corpus Christi for a Wildman experience with my boy Johnny Elsasser. Had a great time down there and I slept really well. Why is that? Well, because I don't have my son waking me up first thing in the morning. I don't have my daughter coughing or, somebody knocking on the door or our dog scratching at our kennel or barking randomly at night. There's a lot of factors that I just didn't have. So I was able to get a deeper night's sleep. When I came back home, I can still sleep very, very well. But there are different factors that come into play. So you have to learn how to adapt to what is common, what is normal for you, and make sure it doesn't have a detrimental impact on your health. So let's dive into this stuff, okay? So I have a bunch of notes here. I'm going to do my best to not continuously stare at the screen. There's a bunch of different categories for what happens in our sleep. And another reason why this is really important is because we spend about a third of our lives, or about 26 plus years, sleeping. Right? 26 years sleeping. We might want to make sure that we're doing it well. We don't want to waste 26 years of rest and recovery. Okay. Now, we can have things that are known as sleep disruptions. Okay. This is going to be issues where we have an increase in excitation or an increase in stimulus to the body. We're exciting our sympathetic nervous system, which in layman's terms means that we're stuck in fight or flight. Okay. Where we constantly think we're being attacked by a bear. This is then going to have an impact on the HPA axis, okay? So the adrenals, A is adrenal axis, so how we produce cortisol, how we produce all these other things to make sure that our body has energy when it's supposed to, but we're not crashing during the day. That's also going to spill over and have metabolic effects, whether that is blood sugar or cardiovascular impact. Poor sleep is going to have that occur as well. It's also going to start to change our circadian rhythms. Now, people who don't know, Circadian rhythms is like our biological rhythms, our biological clock. We are designed as human beings. I don't care what profession you are in. I do not care. Our bodies have to fall asleep by 10 p.m. and they have to wake up by 6 a.m. 10, 6. If you're one of those people, and this shit drives me nuts. I'm not going to censor myself this episode. The hell with it. This drives me nuts is these motivational people who are like, you need to wake up at 3 a.m. or brag that I wake up at 4 a.m. and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Good luck, bro. Good luck. You're going to have to biohack the hell out of yourself to be able to survive throughout the day. You may be able to do that for, a month or 2 months, 6 months, a year, maybe 5 years, and your health is going to significantly be impacted. And then those guys, because they're usually men, are going to go and say, well, now, testosterone naturally declines with age, so now I'm on HRT. Why the hell do you think you need that testosterone to begin with there, buddy? Because you haven't slept in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So your adrenals are burnt out. Your DHEA is going to be burnt out, which is a direct precursor to your testosterone, or you're up and you're eating shit all the time. So then it's increasing conversion to estrogen. You're going to take testosterone because you think that you're low in testosterone, right? So these people, they drive me insane, absolutely insane. My wife knows this. Oh man, drives me insane. Anyways, need to be asleep by 10, need to wake up by 6. If you are a night shift worker, quit your job. Get something that is not a night shift. If you want to be healthy, if you want to be miserable and just barely get by, keep your night shift job. Nothing good is going to happen from you doing that. Maybe it's just a paycheck, but nothing good is going to happen for you as an overnight worker. Okay? Whether you're a nurse, whether you're a cop, whatever it is, our bodies are not designed to work that way. It's not. And I don't care if you see these idiots that are out there trying to say, well, your body will learn that this is when we wake up. No, it doesn't. You're going against our design. Completely against our design. So if you see influencers who are saying that stuff, delete them, block them, unfollow them. Don't let them solicit you because they're idiots. They're probably just trying to sell something. They're liver kinging you. That's what I gotta come up with that. They're liver kinging you. They're just trying to sell you a bunch of supplements and lying behind the scenes of what makes them healthy. Okay? It doesn't work and it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Okay? Bed by 10, wake by 6. Now you can have seasons where you wake up a little bit earlier, you might stay up a little bit later, but it will catch up to you if you don't go back to the normal way that you're sleeping. Now, if you're like, Doc, I go to bed at midnight and it's a college effect. I never went to bed earlier than midnight. What do? I can't fall asleep at 10 p.m. Wind back the clock a half hour every 2 weeks. So don't physically wind back the clock, but say you go to the bed at midnight, try to go to bed at 11:30. Do that for a couple weeks, then go to 11, a couple weeks, 10:30, a couple weeks, 10 o'clock, you made it. Okay? If you sit there and you just jump immediately to 10 p.m., you're going to be anxious. Your body is going to be producing cortisol, so your melatonin is not used to it. It's going to take time for your body to readjust to when you're supposed to be falling asleep because your body just thinks that you need to be awake all day long. The other thing that is bad for your health too is napping. Honestly, napping is not good for you. It's not, right? Because you have normal circadian rhythms. You have normal cortisol production throughout the day. If you take a nap in the afternoon, what is that telling your body? Don't worry, I don't need good sleep at night. I'm going to take a nap in the afternoon. Not good, not sustainable. Now, if you just crushed 48 workouts and you worked from, 1 a.m. to noon and you're like, I'm so exhausted, take a nap, but that lifestyle is not sustainable. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have worked that hard. You shouldn't be waking up at that time and doing those things. It's not good for you. Right? And I do feel bad. I have a lot of patients who are farmers that wake up at 3 a.m. or loggers, truck drivers, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. It's not good. And one of the things I tell them to do is try to get to a position that you can have somebody take your spot and you can work a normal day shift, or you could be a CEO and you don't have to wake up that early in the morning. It's not sustainable. It's not healthy for you. All right. So this is really useful information, guys and gals. We have to make sure that we know this stuff. Okay. And the other thing that you're going to do too, if there are any sleep disruptions, you're going to cause a pro-inflammatory response, which means you're going to cause inflammation in the body. Now, all disease, 100% of diseases, be it cancer, heart disease, whatever it is, diabetes, Alzheimer's, it's going to be triggered from inflammation. So just in and of itself, if you want to reduce your risk of those diseases, you better make sure that you're getting good sleep. Otherwise, you're going to be causing inflammation while you're sleeping. Another reason why you won't feel rested when you wake up in the morning. Now, short-term, all right, we can talk about short-term, long-term effects and impacts on the body. Short-term sleep deprivation is going to lead to an increase in stress, okay, because our circadian rhythm's not going to figure out what's going on. We're not rested. We're going to be shorter, right? Have you ever pulled an all-nighter and you have to wake with your kids? Or if you're a parent and you're like, I can't parent right now. I'm so freaking exhausted right now. I cannot possibly deal with making breakfast or making Susie with her blanket that she wants and she doesn't want it. I'm losing my mind. There you have it. You have an increase in stress response, okay? You're also going to be more likely to have somatic pain or body pain, body aches. Our bodies are more inflamed. We didn't recover. Well, our joints are going to hurt. We're going to be more arthritic. We're going to be slow to rise in the morning, okay? We're going to have a reduced quality of life. And think of anybody who's stressed out of their mind all the time or sleep deprived all the time. You probably don't want to be around them, okay? Because they're miserable. They have a reduced quality of life. They're just angry all the time. You're going to have that emotional stress that's going to play into your hormones as well. Lack of sleep is going to damage your hormones, but prolonged periods of sleep deprivation is going to make some pretty serious impacts on your hormones, right? Blood sugar, insulin, leptin, okay, ghrelin, your hunger response. Leptin kind of shuts it down. It's going to impact everything. Women, your cycle, your menstrual cycle. Try sleep depriving yourself for an entire month and see what happens with your cycle. It's going to be absolutely miserable. So don't do that to yourselves. Work on your sleep. Don't be afraid to ask for sleep. Don't be afraid to ask your spouse to help you so that you can get sleep. Don't think if you're, and I keep talking about spouses and stuff. If you're married, if you have a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, divvy up the duties. If you're by yourself, don't overwhelm yourself. You have 7 days in a week. You can get plenty of stuff done. Prioritize, make yourself a to-do list to get stuff done, okay? So you're going to have mood disorders or mood instability, okay? And we're going to have cognitive memory performance issues, okay? I remember this. God, pulling all-nighters in school and then having that like test anxiety kick in, and I'm just stupid taking the test. I'm like, I don't even know what the heck my name is at this point. Like, what's going on? So don't do that to yourself. You're not going to be smart. You're going to be higher likelihood or have a higher likelihood of also getting into car accidents, which we'll talk about, a statistic, which is pretty insane, but you'll be more likely to get injured with sleep deprivation. But we're just talking short term right now. Now, in adolescence, so in our children, right? A lot of people come to me with their kids and they're like, how do I work with these kids? These kids are mean all the time. They're so angry. I can't get them to do what I need them to do. They won't do their chores. They're tired. They're lazy. I don't even know what to do. What's their sleep like? Are you letting them play video games till midnight, 1 o'clock, getting stimulated with blue light? All right, blue light increases our cortisol response. If you have a cell phone, you don't have it on a warm light function, or I know one of my friends, Jason, he has, it's like a grayscale. It's slated. It looks like a black and white, like old vintage style phone. Cancel out that blue light. Blue light is going to artificially stimulate our brain to produce more cortisol. So for doing that coming into bedtime, take the damn video games out of your kids' rooms. In my opinion, kids shouldn't even have video games. Half the stuff that's on there, it's mind-numbing, it's stupid, it's horrible, it's bloody, it's gruesome, it's desensitizing. There's people that'll jump on there and be highly inappropriate with your kids. Why parents still give their kids video games, I don't really know. Or why they don't control the time, I don't really know. Okay? And I'll be honest, I don't even know when these things came out. I have a Nintendo Wii behind that wall there. How often do I play it? Once in a literal blue moon. Like maybe once every 6 months. And I just play Mario Galaxy. I don't even know. I don't even know what the dang game is called. Right? And I'll just play it and I'm like, this is stupid. And I'll shut it off within like 10 minutes. I don't enjoy it. It's not fun for me. Okay? Now there's different therapeutic stuff that you can do actually with video games, with cancers, but I'm not going to go into that here because you don't need to know that right now. We're not talking about that. Okay? So cognitive memory performance deficits. Adolescents, we have the psychosocial health. Okay? School performance is down. We have risk-taking behaviors. Okay? So the psychosocial, getting put on antidepressants because they're depressed. They're having mood disorders. They're having mood instability. Their test scores go down. They can't function during the day. They have attention-seeking behavior. They're always acting out at school. risk-taking behaviors are more likely to drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, smoke marijuana, do different other drugs. They have a higher risk of risk-taking behavior. Okay, so it could just be the fact that your kids are not sleeping. Start with the video games and then work on all these other things that we'll talk about here too, to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to get the proper amount of sleep. Even if they fight you tooth and nail, they will learn to appreciate you when they are older. Trust me. Okay, now in children, so tiny children, you'll have behavioral issues and you'll have cognitive issues, so brain issues. Behavioral, again, they'll lash out, they'll be angry, they'll yell, they'll scream, they'll be completely incontrollable, inconsolable, and just maniacal. And you'll be like, what is wrong with this kid? Did they sleep? Did they have nightmares? Ask your kids, did you have a nightmare last night? What's going on? What are you feeling right now? What is this stuff? And I'm not talking about like the passive parenting. I'm not a passive parent by any stretch of the imagination. I did something that my wife is not too proud of me for last night. But my boys, Johnny and Elliot, sent me a post of this funny guy who talked about protecting his kid, trying to teach him what to do with bullies. And I kind of did a little bit of that yesterday with like a little 2-year-old that pushed my daughter. But anyways, I digress. All right, so behavioral issues and cognitive function issues. So they'll have developmental delays. They won't be able to speak as well. They won't be able to learn as well. They won't know their alphabet. They won't know how to count. They won't know these things. And again, it could just be due to the fact that they are not properly sleeping. All right. And in children, make sure they're not eating dairy. Make sure they're not doing gluten, because that's going to cause inflammation to their poor little bodies, and they're not going to be able to digest that stuff. And it's going to lead into inflammation at night, which is then going to cause issues with that sleep. Okay. Long-term consequences. Okay. Long-term consequences, according to the research here, it's going to be obviously what we previously talked about, but then that's going to compound and make things way worse. So we're going to have hypertension. So high blood pressure, heart issues, heart disease, dyslipidemia, which means abnormal cholesterol. You can have cardiovascular disease, weight-related issues. So obesity is highly correlated to sleep deprivation. Okay. Metabolic syndrome, which is not good. It goes up there with heart disease being in one of the top leading causes of death in the country. We've got type 2 diabetes. We have an increase in colorectal cancer. We see this a lot, actually, colorectal cancer with issues with night shift workers, colorectal and breast cancers, prostate cancers, and people who don't sleep at night because they work the night shift. And then this is something that's not fun for us men out there, all-cause mortality. So anything that can kill us men out there is increased with sleep disturbances for men. Yay! Thanks. Right? So make sure, men, you're getting to sleep. Don't think this, the whole, I'm a tough guy, I can handle it. No, bullshit. You can't. Your body will break down. Nothing is special about your body. Okay. You can take really good care of it, but sleep deprivation is not taking very good care of your body at all. Okay. It's like never shutting your car down. You just constantly leave your car on. And then eventually your car breaks down. You're like, why did my car break down? Well, you left it on the whole damn time. What'd you think was going to happen? Like, what are you talking about? Right? It's bad. Or if you lock it in the garage, it's constantly emitting exhaust fumes. You go in there and you pass out. What happened? Well, you let your car fester in an unwell state, and the symptom of that is you pass out or you die if you're not careful. Okay, and by the way, those are long-term consequences in otherwise healthy individuals. Okay, in unhealthy, it's all of those things, and then the health-related quality of life in children and adolescents. Also, we have a lot of issues with digestive tract. You'll see a huge correlation. We talked about the colorectal cancer, the rectal cancer, colon cancer, but this happens in children as well, and it can even cause issues, just irritable bowel, Crohn's, colitis, celiac. These types of things can also get worse due to sleep deprivation. Okay, so what do we need in terms of healthy sleep? We need sufficient duration. All right, that 10 to 6 window is going to be key. Good quality, so we need good quality sleep. Appropriate timing, again, 10 to 6, regularity, normal sleep schedule, normal sleep routine, absence of sleep disorders or disturbances. So making sure that if you do have kids, you try to keep the disturbances to a minimum the best you can. I mean, I know, again, I'm a freaking parent, can't control everything, but also know that your kids are just trying to push your buttons a lot of times to see how far they could push you without you breaking, or to see you break. It depends. Make sure that you really need to help your kids before you do it, okay? Otherwise, they'll just manipulate you. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. The other thing that was astonishing too is up to about 70% million Americans suffer with sleep disorders and sleep deprivation. 70 million. And it's chronic sleep disorder. Chronic, right? The Standard American Society, right? Standard American Society, SAS, right? Is horrible for our health. Work until you die. And when you retire, good luck saving all that money out to pay for your medical bills. That's the standard American dream. That's what they want you to do. Work until you die and suck the teeth of the medical companies until you die. Don't do that. Not healthy for you, right? This was the statistic I was talking about with the car accidents. So 20% of serious injuries from car accidents are from sleepy drivers. 20% of serious. It might not seem like that much, but if you could say, hey, I never want to get in a car accident, I never want to have like a serious one of those. If you could chop off 20% risk of having one of these things happen, right? Make sure you sleep. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you allow for a 20% chance of you to die or have a serious injury because you're too sleepy? All right. I had a patient who's a truck driver. I'm laughing because he was so nonchalant about this, but he fell asleep at the wheel and wrecked his truck. And just boom, and he rolled it. Didn't just wreck it, he rolled it. And he drives big trucks, like big trucks, tractor trailer trucks. And he rolled the damn thing. And he was like, oh yeah, I was tired and I woke up at 3 a.m. I didn't get a good night's sleep. I'm like, geez, man, come on. Like, you're better than that. Come on, sleep. You have to, right? So we have him on a very awkward but healthy sleep regimen, sleep schedule to try to get him to sleep as much as possible so he doesn't pass out. Right? Because you have to be worried about those things. Now, how do we become sleep deprived, right? It's these series of events. It's these series of challenges that happen time and time again. Let's go into the stages first before I go into what are the risk factors that are going to be associated with this. So we have REM sleep. Okay, so REM sleep stands for REM is rapid eye movement. And then you have non-REM, which is not rapid eye movement. So you have one stage of REM, and then you have 4 stages of non-REM. Each stage in the non-REM that you go into gets deeper and deeper and deeper into sleep. Okay, so deeper stages in stage 3 and 4 is referred to as slow wave sleep, or SWS, and this is the most restorative sleep. Okay, and it typically occurs in the first third of the night. Why did I pause when I say first third of the night? Okay, if we're sleeping from 10 to 6, right, and you say you go to bed at 1 a.m., guess what you just missed? You missed that stage 3, stage 4 non-REM sleep. So you did not get a deep restorative night's sleep, and you're waking up feeling horrible in the morning. And why is that? Because you could still continue to choose to stay awake. This isn't a numbers game. This isn't say, hey, I want 8 hours of sleep. I'm not going to bed till 1 o'clock, so I'll wake up at 9. That's not how this works. Kids, college kids, teenagers, it's not how it works. Parents, don't let your kids do this. It's not sustainable long term. Okay? Kids feel like they're invincible and vulnerable. They're like, oh, I'm so good. I can do this. I can stay up. I remember that back in college. Shoot, stay up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Stay up all night. I didn't care until I failed my test the next day. I'm like, oh, why is I sat crammed in all night? I remembered everything. I had everything down to a T, and I took a test and forgot it all, right? There's that cognitive stuff. I didn't get to sleep. So REM increases as the night goes on, and is the longest in the last third of your sleep. So non-REM, kind of in the beginning phases, and you switch into that REM sleep as you kind of shift in that way during the night. Okay. So that's kind of how things are fractioned or segmented. There's different research and stuff that's coming out. They're trying to call it differently, but I feel like this was for learning purposes. This is the easiest for most people to be able to understand these different stages, right? The non-REM, stage 3, stage 4, deep restorative sleep. REM sleep, that rapid eye movement, is going to be as the last third of the night kind of goes on there. Okay. Still restorative, still helps you recover. But again, just make sure you know this. When we sleep, why is this important? It does like everything. This is when our subconscious takes care of us. We don't have to think about these things when we sleep. Our body does it. So it helps with brain activity. It helps with heart rate, blood pressure, sympathetic nervous system activity, muscle tone, blood flow to the brain, respiration, airway resistance, kidney function, endocrine function, so hormones, body temperature, and sexual arousal. Okay? Does all that stuff as we're sleeping. Now, risk factors for disrupted sleep are going to be in different categories. We'll hit them each. So lifestyle category, we're going to have consuming caffeine in excess. Whether that's just all the way through the day, you're crushing caffeine, or you drink caffeine past 3-4 p.m., and then you're carrying that caffeine into that next night's sleep. Again, we talked about this. It's going to raise your cortisol, which is going to suppress your melatonin. You're not going to sleep. Drinking alcohol makes you wake up. Okay, drinking alcohol is going to be damaging the liver. There's a liver time that you wake up as well in the middle of the night, 1 to 3 a.m. or so. And it could be because you are drinking alcohol quite readily. Drug abuse, same way, whether that's THC or just regular old drugs, weed, THC, medications, actual drugs like heroin, that's something that could throw you off. Shift work, like we talked about, attending college, so you typically pull all-nighters there, and then jet lag is going to be another one from that lifestyle side. The environmental, we have excessive noise, whether that's you live in the city, you've got noisy kids, noisy dog. You can have excessive light, where you have blue lights or like all these little lights all around the room, or you don't have blackout curtains. That can throw you off. And then mold is another environmental one that can throw off your sleep, okay? Because mold will get you to be breathing in mold all night. You'll be oxygen deprived. You won't recover. You won't feel too great, okay? Psychosocial. You have anxiety, whether it's test anxiety or work anxiety, relationship anxiety, that can play into this. You could be a parent, again, of young children there. Or you could be a caregiver to a family member who has a chronic illness or who's terminal, that you don't know when they're going to pass. They're at some point going to die, and it's stressful. It's psychosocial. Sleep disorders, insomnia, we have obstructive sleep apnea, restless legs. All right, watch magnesium there, mold there, narcolepsy, and then circadian rhythm disorders. So again, if you're throwing off your circadian rhythms and your body can't adjust. Medical conditions, pain, obviously pain is going to keep you awake. Restrictive lung disease, you have chronic kidney disease, diabetes, neurodegenerative disease or distress, psychiatric things, medications can all impact you quite readily, okay? With sleep disruption, there's this little graph that I was able to find from one of the research studies I was looking at. I'm going to use some nerdy terms here. So sleep deprivation is going to cause different psychological but physiological effects. So it's going to increase catecholamines, so adrenaline, noradrenaline, okay? It's going to increase secretion of ACTH, which is a signal that comes from the brain to basically tell your adrenal glands to release cortisol, okay? So release cortisol, keep you awake. It's going to throw off your circadian rhythms, the normal ups and downs, the normal ebbs and flows of your adrenals throughout the day. And then it's going to cause insulin decrease in sensitivity, which in medical terms, you're going to develop insulin resistance, which is going to be highly correlated with cancers, heart disease, and many other disease disorders of the body, okay? Obesity as well. You're going to decrease sensitivity to leptin, which is what tells you to stop eating. You're going to increase your ghrelin, which is going to make you hungrier, which is then going to increase your appetite, right? So one night of sleep deprivation, watch how hungry you are the next day. You're going to eat like a freaking ravenous being, all right? This is a common stress response. You eat and eat and eat, and you're stressed out. You go to bed, and you continue that same perpetuating cycle, and you're like, I can't figure out why I can't stop eating shitty food. Go to sleep. Stay to sleep. Give yourself a week, 2 weeks where you cut that garbage from your diet, and you'll be surprised, miraculously surprised at how well your sleep improves. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to increase your oxygen consumption and CO2 production, okay, when you're getting sleep disruption or sleep deprivation. You're also going to increase upregulation of TNF, interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and CRP, which is C-reactive protein, which is a damaging number. It's a very inflammatory number to see. Correlation with muscle damage, cardiovascular events, heart attacks. We see it high with mold, Lyme's disease as well. And then you're going to increase reactive oxygen species, which is not good. And then we talked about this about 5 times so far, but then it's going to decrease your melatonin production, okay? Short-term consequences, stress, somatic problems, psychosocial. Long-term, cardiovascular disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes mellitus, cancer, and death. Right? So what are the top 2 causes of death in America? Heart disease and cancer. If you're not sleeping, what are you going to be increasing your risk of? The top 2 diseases or top 2 killers in America. The third one is medical errors. So God forbid you do go in and you're like, hey, I think something's going on here. That doctor is going to kill you. It's the third leading cause of death. Get it together, doctors. All right, it's embarrassing. Your numbers are embarrassing at this point. You need a full system reform. And I swear, I pray to God that at some point before I die, I will make a dent in this healthcare system, this medical system, to get people to freaking see with their eyes. And if I can educate every single patient that I come across and every single patient that tunes in on this podcast to start being their own doctors, goodbye, medical doctors. You will no longer be needed unless I break my arm or unless I need you to save my life. And a side note on that, you sure as shit better not give me any blood that has a COVID jab in it. That's a little fun fact for you too. Side note, when you get COVID and you have these jabs in and they artificially do this with you, you actually create an autoimmune response against that ACTH, all right, which means it typically pushes you into a chronic fatigue state for about a year post-infection or post-vaccine. So just a fun fact for you, if you're chronically fatigued after you got that jab, well, besides the blood clots and the thickness in the blood, you're going to have a decrease in cortisol output, which means you're going to be tired all the time. Anyways, I digress, but I feel like it was useful information. Adolescents here, sleep deprivation, again, up playing video games and all of that, showed lower test scores, okay, poor mental health, worry, anxiety, depression, suicide, and drug use. Now, what parent would say, you know what? I want my kid to have all the fun things in the world. I don't care if they're going to have a higher risk of suicide. Hopefully none. Hopefully no parents out there say that. So parents, be responsible for your children. You're not designed to be your child's friend. You're supposed to be your child's caregiver, your child's guardian, your child's parent. Make them go to sleep. Take the damn video games. Take the damn cell phones. Go to sleep. Figure it out. Hate me in the morning. I don't really care. You're going to be healthy because that's my job, is to keep you healthy. We'll talk later when you're older and you appreciate it, right? Parents need to step up and stop this whole passive parenting crap, okay? You're here to protect your child. I don't care if you have a fear of confrontation because your parents sucked at being parents. You have this child born to you for a reason. You have the skills. You have a very particular set of skills to help raise these children. Use them. If intuitively you're like, I need to do this, do it. You're raised to do it. Don't beat your children to death, for the love of God. I'm not saying that and be like, oh, that crazy doc said that if I felt like I should do it, I should do it. Trust me, there's times I want to beat the crap out of my kids. I'm going to say it right here, right now. I think every parent has that. I don't do it, but I try to troubleshoot it. That's not what I'm feeling. I'm feeling that, and I don't think that's right. Intuitively, I don't think that's what I want to do, right? But again, parents, super simple. Make your kids go to sleep, all right? Or pull the things away that are going to keep them up, okay? It works. Trust me. Again, give it a couple days. We use like the 3 to 5 day rule with our kids. We try to change something within 3 to 5 days. The kids accept the new habit, the new routine. Do the same thing, okay? Sleep deprivation. Guess what else it does, okay? It causes accelerated tumor growth and increased risk of cancer. So again, cancer, we talked about that, right? So the other thing too, I wanted to say on the spin side, or the other side of the adolescence and sleep deprivation, kids that scored the best in school, the academic overachievers, had earlier bedtimes and longer sleep, which then led to less sleepiness during the day. Okay? So again, parents, you're in control. What do you want your kid to be? You want your kid to suffer through school? Be miserable all the time? Act out? Have behavioral issues? You feel like you're a bad parent, but really the only reason is because your kid's not sleeping at night? Sounds like a pretty simple fix, guys. Before you medicate your kids, troubleshoot your kids. What could be going on that you can correct, that you can help with to make your child as healthy as humanly possible? Figure it out. Okay? Next one here. Yeah, so it causes accelerated tumor growth, increased risk of cancer. Exposure to light at night also decreases melatonin. So this is bedtime TV watching. Okay, if you're watching TV late at night, you don't have a proper wind down routine, that blue light is going to come in, stimulate your brain, decrease your melatonin, increase your cortisol, and you're going to be stressed going to bed. Not to mention, what were you watching on TV? Were you watching Yellowstone and Beth got abused again and then you went to bed right after that? Right? Were you watching something where people's heads are getting blown off? Were you watching the news? It's just pissing you off. What is it that you're putting into your brain before you go to bed? And then that stuff's going to seep into the night. I'll tell you a prime example. Yeah, we watched Yellowstone. We binge watched that. It's a pretty decent show. Lots of blood and gore, but we watch it in a strategic way. I remember watching Vikings. And I watched it very sparingly, maybe like 10 minutes at a time, because the majority of the scenes are blood and gore. And I don't let that go into my mind. But there was one scene I was making lunch after my shift, and somebody took an axe to the dude's forehead, and you got to see everything that occurred post-axing. And I had my first nightmare in, probably 10 years. Like, holy hell, what the heck? Within the first night, right? I saw the scene, that scene came into my nightmares. And I'm like, damn it. It can happen that easily. Watch what you're putting into your brain. That's the other thing too. I hate the news. My friends, my best friends, no, I hate the news. They still update me. And then they pass along some Will Ferrell skits and some Key and Peele stuff. But at the end of the day, I try to shield myself from that, because I can't filter out the stuff that I can't do anything about. All right, and this isn't making things political, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or apolitical, or wherever you stand in this. The news is designed to piss us off and cause segregation or cause separation and split and divide us. It's the end of the day. That's exactly what it's designed to do. Okay, which can make people mad. Do not watch the nightly news. That's the worst thing you can do. Or waking up first thing in the morning and you turn on the news and Joey down the street was found dead in a ditch. Why the hell do you need to know that information? You don't. Stop it. Okay? So I'm going to wrap this up here in a summary. You can hopefully see that this is some serious stuff. Sleep is really serious. It's very delicate as well. It's, again, really important to know. It's really delicate. The night shift work, I'm going to wrap it up with this. Increased risk of cancer, again, colorectal or colon cancer, as well as breast cancer. There is plenty of research on this stuff. You don't have to take my word for it. Go on the Googles, go into DuckDuckGo and figure this out and look at this stuff. Okay? Look at this. You shouldn't be medicating yourself to sleep every single night either. All right? You shouldn't be dependent on taking melatonin. You shouldn't be dependent on taking phosphatidylserine. You shouldn't be dependent on taking catacholacom or California poppy or kava or drinking or doing THC. You shouldn't be, or Ambien. God's sakes, Ambien. You should not be dependent on this stuff. What are the variables that I talked about that you can improve upon to get your lifestyle back on track? And you're like, well, what do I do with this? How do I do it? Start simple. Start with the simple stuff. Try to get to bed by 10. Wake up by 6. Don't eat within 3 hours of bedtime. Start simple. All right? Lights. If you got fluorescence or different lights that are on, this thing's blinding me right now. I don't know what the heck is in this stuff. If you have heavy duty, high wattage light bulbs, turn them down, dimmer switch, or get warm lights, okay, or a red light instead. Allow your body to naturally stimulate as if it's like you're watching the sunset. What are the colors of the sunset? Very bright. Then it goes in like an amber, orangish, yellowish kind of wave. The bulbs around your house can do that for you. Okay, that's what we have in our living room. When we sit down, if we're reading a book or we're watching TV, we have our blue light glasses on sometimes. We got to get better with that. And then we'll have warm bulbs on in the background so we can go around the kitchen. Nothing's crazy. We even have one up in our bedroom, which, to be honest with you, it's too dark in there. I could barely see anything, but it's kind of a cave. So you turn the light on. It doesn't blow your eyeballs out when you see it, and it doesn't stimulate that blue light when you go and you rest. What else? Set your phone down. You don't need your phone before bed. You don't need to be scrolling through that. Once 5 p.m., once the kids go down, whenever that is, put your phone away. Be present with your spouse. Be present with yourself. Grab something else. Do something around the house. Be productive. Don't be counterproductive. Okay? What else? Get tested. Figure out what's going on with your adrenals. If you do all these things, you're like, I feel better, but I'm not perfect yet. What else do I need to do? At the very least, run a salivary adrenal panel. Okay? Or call us. We'll help you with this, but salivary adrenal, or you can run a Dutch Plus test, which is a great test you run. See your hormones, your adrenals, organic acids. See your melatonin on that test too. All right? What else? Stool test. Always. Stool test, always. Who needs to run a stool test? Every single person known to man. Babies, toddlers, infants, adolescents, you name it. Everyone should do a stool test like once a year to make sure that you're in good health. Everything starts in the gut. Okay? So run those 2 tests, real simply put, and then we could build a protocol together on not only how to get you sleep, but how to get you as healthy as humanly possible. Too many people are walking around way under their God-given potential, and it's horrible to see. And we're sitting here, and when we have heart disease and cancer, we have these killers. We have more obesity than I've seen in my entire life, and I feel terrible that these kids are growing up with the same thing, where parents are just sticking them in front of PS5s, or PS15s probably at this point. I don't know how many of those things are out there. giving them Cheetos and pop and say, go play. So you're stimulating cortisol, you're causing insulin resistance, and you're feeding yourself sugar and sugar and sugar. And your body's like, I can't handle this. Fat, diabetes, good luck, right? We need to be better. We need to be better for ourselves. We need to be better as parents. We need to be better as spouses. We need to be better at educators, at our work. We need to take pride in what we do. But it all starts by showing pride in ourselves first. How do we show up? How do we take care of ourselves? If we continuously sacrifice ourselves and we don't take care of ourselves, what example are you setting for your children? What example are you setting for your spouse? You can't love somebody if you don't love yourself first. That's my deepest, honest truth. Megan, my wife, and I, we talk about this all the time. You have to love yourself first. Take care of yourself. Get some sleep. Don't feel guilty if you need to get to sleep early. Don't feel guilty that you're not hanging out with your spouse that works and flies out of town 7 out of 7 days a week, comes home at midnight, and he wants to have sex with you at midnight. And you're like, well, I have to do my duties as a wife, and I have to. No, he needs to be more present. He needs to be there for you. He needs to let you sleep, right? And again, this is extreme examples, right? And these happen. These are patients that I work with. These are extreme examples that I unfortunately work with. And not unfortunately, fortunately, I work with, because then I'm able to breathe life back into those spouses. Get on a relationship call with your spouse, or get a relationship coach. Work your stuff out. If you get home from work and your cortisol spikes because you know your husband's going to say, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. This house is a mess. What the hell's wrong with these kids? These kids are filthy. I hate this. I don't like what you're feeding. And then you try to go to sleep. Good luck being healthy. Good luck. Fix that stuff. All right. And this is what's different with what I do. I help people internationally. I got people in different countries, different states. It doesn't matter where you are. There are no excuses if you want to be healthy. There are none. You can't say, well, you're not in my state. Doesn't matter. You can't use that as an excuse. I'm everywhere. I am omnipresent. I am all over the place. The only thing getting in the way of you and taking care of yourself is you. Start doing it. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying that you have the ability. You have the potential. Take your power back. Do something for you. Men, women, children, teenagers, college, whoever's listening to this, take your power back. You need to. And it can start just simply by you getting sleep. So if you need help and you're like, I don't know what to do, reach out. I am everywhere. There are links in all of these posts that we make. My team does a phenomenal job of allowing you to find ways to see me, to find me, to educate yourself. Hit me up in my DMs. Don't ask me specific medical questions because that's a breach of HIPAA. Like, that's not a safe platform. But if you're like, I don't know if you can help me, we can jump on a call real quick and say, hey, let's do a 15-minute call real quick. Or let's do an hour deep dive. Let's really get in there and really talk to you more than anybody has ever talked to you in your life. And we can iron out these details. And then what can happen is, as we're eliminating the physical ailments, right, the spiritual stuff can come out. The deep-rooted stuff that you stashed away for years, 5 years, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Rape, abuse, trauma that you suppressed within. Now you don't have any physical ailments and your body's like, perfect. Now remember that one time, and it comes out and you're like, oh, crap. Okay, well, my adrenals are good now. So what do? How do I process this? There are so many tools that we use, whether it's doing somatic breath work with my wife, or we have you get in contact with a therapist, or we have you do EMDR, or we have you do some of these things. We have so many tools in our tool belt. So the potential is there. The health is there. The healing is there. Nobody is too far gone unless they're too far gone here and you don't feel like you're capable. You know, one of my mentors, Dr. Zeno, says, you have to know that it's possible, that you're capable, and that you're worthy of it. And you can't let anybody else tell you otherwise. You have to tell this to yourself. And if that's who you are, if that's who you are listening and watching this, however you're listening, however you're consuming this, reach out. I would love to help you on your health journey and truly make 2023 the whole cliche healthiest year possible, or a healthiest year yet. So thank you for tuning in. This is a little bit longer one, but I wanted to get this information out there because I know it's vitally important. And I know that it needs to be out there. So thank you all for listening. I apologize for the swearing that happened throughout this, but I just get excited. I get passionate about this, and hopefully you see that through this. So have a great day. I love you all. See you next time.